on LinkedIn. Let me see. This is my first time using Riverside. Shout out to Riverside Live. Um, so I don't know if I am live, but I'm about to find out. I am live. I'm live. So this is the official Interview Like an Olympian launch and a launch party, launch book talk. I am waiting for people to join. We're starting 11:30. Cassia, hi.
Hi. Hello. Can we angle
Can I hear
this?
you?
You're not hearing me? Wait. Mm, mm. Let me check. Still not hearing me?
We're getting our tech together. I'm introducing you to Cassia soon. We're gonna get our tech together. People are gonna start coming in. I have my iPad.
Okay. I'll have to leave
I
and
think I want my.
rejoin.
I don't think you guys can see my.
Good
Melissa,
morning.
hi. Good morning. I do not know why I can't hear, and I'm wondering.
Um, let's check my mic. I can see the volume
I
in the
can see the volume.
corner.
Oh, perfect. Now I can hear. It was me.
Okay.
Okay, Cassie is here. It was me. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Hi, the dream team is here for Interview Like an Olympian. Good morning. Good morning. Carla, thank you for letting us know that you can hear us. Tony, we can hear. Um, okay. So I am waiting for more people to join. Thank you all for joining on. If you're here in the States, it's MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. And so we're not just having a book launch, we are celebrating this powerful MLK Day with a dream realized. And that is me launching this book and starting my legacy, really, continuing my legacy also, by putting more of my ideas, perspectives into the world. And so, if you're joining, I have my Interview Like an Olympian Dream Team here with me, and we're going to get into how this book came to life. And what it took and what went into it. And I'm just going to be interviewing them for a change on the book. So I want to do a vibe check for the folks that are joining. If you would just put in the chat how you typically feel, scale of 1 to 10, either put a trophy in the chat, or if you're not feeling like you give a trophy or a gold medal interview, then let's see. Maybe you can put maybe you can put a emoji that symbolizes how you feel coming out of an interview. Do you feel like you give trophy level interview, or do you how do you feel coming out of an interview? Let me know. Put it in the chat. Carla, Tony, let me know how the vibes are when you are typically interviewing. I'll wait for that in the chat. Now, um, I think I get a lot of questions about why I created this book, or why this book, or why this topic. And when I was preparing to come onto this live, I was trying to create some content, and I was just kind of looking back at some old posts. And I found maybe from like 4 years ago, there was a community called Alpha. It was a women in tech community, wrote an article for them about tips on interviewing. And that is 4+ years ago. I've been talking about interviewing ever since. And so this is just not a new topic for me. I talk about career development, career preparedness online all the time. Back in the Twitter days, now Threads, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. I've been kind of covering this topic for years. I've also found a post where this idea for interview like an Olympian started, and it was a post from 2024 where I was talking about tips on what it means to prepare for an interview like an Olympian, and that is that is where this idea came from, which is preparing for an interview like at an Olympic level, with the Olympian mindset. And so there you have it. That's where this idea came from. That is kind of a backstory on how I've been talking about interviewing and helping people prepare for interviews. So Tony puts in the chat that he has a face palm emoji when he is preparing for interviews. And this book is for you. If you also feel the same way, we can get you to from a face palm. We can get you from a upside down smiley face to having that gold medal or that trophy level interview. So I'm gonna go into interviewing my dream team here, and I'm gonna start with Melissa. Melissa is my book developmental book editor for this book. I will let you introduce yourself, Melissa, and come off of mute. But Melissa, we actually found each other on LinkedIn. I found her, reached out, and was phenomenal with customer service. She was phenomenal with helping me to edit my book, helping me to get my content really to gold medal content. So, Melissa, just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us why you were excited to come onto this project.
Yeah, so
We have some feedback.
is it from me?
I think so. It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the mic rubbing something.
Is it better?
It's better, yes. We hear something, but it's not that scratchiness that was just there.
Mm,
It's kind of like an
I
airy
hear it.
sound. Yeah.
I'm
Do
not
you want me to
sure.
go? You want me to go to Cassia first?
You can. I don't. I only have the one option for my mic, but I don't hear it anymore. Do you hear it? Is it still there?
It's low. It's kind of
Okay.
go. It's going away. Yeah.
So we'll try to make it work.
Okay.
So, as mentioned, my name is Melissa Murphy. I am a developmental editor based in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I it's something that I love doing. So when I was approached by Geneva about her book, from our very, very first conversation, her idea was so clear. She understood who her audience was. She had such a clear voice. And as someone that likes to help people bring their story to the forefront and make sure that it lands as they intended with their audience, it was just an easy choice to be a part of this. I felt like I saw myself in her audience and the people that she was talking to. I remember telling her that this is perfect for Person and Pivot, which really fell into my garden. So even though as I was editing through the chapters, there were so many evergreen tips that I was able to take on myself. So I felt like it was very much a win-win collaboration. I was happy to bring her story to life, and I was able to walk away with some amazing advice as well.
Do you remember? Thank you for sharing that. Do you remember any of the advice, or have you put any of the advice into practice?
Yeah, I think the best one for me was taking things that you sometimes take for granted, like your hobbies, and really trying to enmesh those skill sets that you have that you don't necessarily think of, and how that can now create an open lane for you that you hadn't considered in the past. I think that over the time that we spent together, I went from being a developmental editor, but I also felt like my background in English literature and professional writing, but also just, I guess, the ease that we were able to collaborate. I felt like I jumped in with 2 feet into book coaching. I felt like that was something that will allow me to use all of my skill sets, right? Whether it's just being personable, my background in English, having a mom that's a teacher and seeing a lot of her qualities in me. So I've really just been exploring book coaching now, and I felt like our project working together was a great way to show me that this was a really like this was an opportune time to really blend all of those skill sets and find a lane that's, specific to me.
That's awesome. I didn't even know your mom was a teacher, so this is news to me. But now that I know that, I feel like it just aligns with how you work and how you worked on the project, and kind of you do have that teaching style, so that makes sense. Finding out that she's a teacher. Something that you said that we talk about in the book a lot is really sharing your story and allowing all of those connection points and all of your skills to really shine, right? And being able to put it together and tell a cohesive story about yourself, about your career. And I think you're able to do that now with the book coaching. Two questions I got is, what is a developmental editor? One, when I told people, when people ask me like how I, brought the book to life, they ask me that all the time. And then now, can you explain what is a book coach?
So I feel like there's a lot of overlap between the two. I think a book coach is someone who's really going to be there with you from the onset. Like, what exactly is your voice, your audience, your topic? Let's find those areas where we can start putting pen to paper and building out that skeleton together. Um, it's more about allowing you to be in the driver's seat, like here are some prompts, some things to think about. And it's less about the editing aspect of it and really advocating for you and empowering you to tell your story. So rather than going like, yes, there's editing involved, but also tapping into that inner writer in you, right? Like we want to walk away from a project with you feeling like I wrote this, as opposed to, oh, I got so much help while I was doing it. Versus a developmental editor, I like to say that they're an advocate for the reader. So they're going to go in and they're going to think about things like structure and tone and layout, and flow. And they're just going to just kind of bring things to your attention like, hey, have you considered this? Like, if this is your end goal, this might be better suited in this place versus this. And there's a lot of editing because we are going to put a greater emphasis on your voice as well, just to make sure that those key elements are really strong and at the forefront as you're moving from chapter to chapter. I think that.
Perfect. That's a great explanation. I was talking to somebody who I worked with, who is a mentor, and he asked what is developmental editor. So I feel like that's a perfect breakdown, and we were able to kind of align as people who work in tech, who have built websites and apps, it's kind of like um, the UX UI design of the book, like putting together the structure, how the words flow, how the content flows, rearranging things, similar to how you would do if you were doing like information architecture or UX design for an app or a website. So he was like, "Oh, I get it now." So that was a great explanation. I think I'm going to go over to Cassia now. Melissa, thank you so much for hopping on and giving us a little bit of insight on how you worked with me in this project, and also your background of all the things, English literature, your mom being a teacher. That was great information for me to find out. Um, and I just want to thank you for being a part of this project, for helping me to realize my dream, bring it to life. Um, yeah,
Well, I just wanted to thank you for trusting me with your baby. I knew from the very, like I said, from the very first conversation, I understood that this was a really important book for you to put out. And I'm really happy and excited for you to see it now at the finish line and ready to take off.
thank you, thank you. Um, Now we are going into how everything looks, and we're gonna go to Cassia. This is the real life book. I want you to pay attention to how big the book is. It's very informative. It is more than a book. It is a career tool. It is a career guide. I like to say, when I'm talking about the book or when I'm talking to a potential partner, it is going to be the key future of work book for people. They're not teaching career preparedness in schools. They're not teaching people the skill of interviewing in schools. So even at the university level, we're not seeing that. And I don't know about in the beautiful countries that my team is from, but here in the US, they are not teaching that. I know for sure. Even at the university level, they're not teaching people how to get out in the marketplace and tell a story about themselves and their skill set. So I'm just showing you a little bit of how the book looks before I introduce my designer. And now we're gonna go to Cassia. So Cassia worked with me. I was actually introduced to Cassia from Melissa, and she recommended her. And from the first conversation, I feel like she was able to get my vision before we even went into vision boarding and me giving her the actual visuals that I wanted, which and we did all of this online. We did all of this through Canva. We did all of this through me just going into the stores, going into Barnes and Nobles, and showing her what catches my eye. And I really thought that that was a beautiful process, seamless process for me to visually explain to her what the vision is for the design. Um, and the design is really like the calling card for the book. It's going to make people want to make it catch their eye, make them attracted to the book. And so it was super important to have a great designer who can see the vision, who can also simplify the vision, because sometimes as creatives we might want to have too much there. So I think it was a great balance of her being able to work through that. So Cassie, if you could introduce yourself, and tell us why you wanted to come onto this project. We have that same background noise.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It's not too bad, right? No, it stopped. Great.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Casa Marina. I'm a brand strategist and web designer. I have been a designer in general for more than a decade, so I bring a lot of experience to the table. When I met Geneva and we first had our call, I was really excited about the project. I myself had the same uh, bell that went off that, oh, this is not just for young career professionals, because someone at my stage in life, which is like late 30s, sometimes I play with like, where do I want to go? Do I want to dabble in something new? Do I want to take my skills here and transfer it to another, role, right? So I feel like, oh, this is perfect because I'm someone who I love TikTok. Forgetting all the drama this weekend. But on TikTok, there's just so much resources on tips on what's different today than yesteryear. So when I would have been a new college graduate or high school graduate, the rules are different now, and I find myself bookmarking and saving. So when I first had that conversation with you, Geneva, I was really intrigued. I was like, oh, this is definitely something I myself would be interested in. And I feel like it's also a tool that some of the lessons can even be used in how you just market yourself as a personal brand, because at the end of the day, that's what we are, whether we are entrepreneurs, self employed, or we're looking for a job. At the end of the day, we're looking to sell ourselves. We are going into several types of interviews. This right here is an interview. So I feel like this is a book that can be very useful across many different modalities.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, so in terms of the cover, funny enough, when you came to me, it was all about the interior. It was about the formatting, and I realized that, wait, you didn't mention the cover. Like, do you have someone for that? And to your point that the cover of the book really is the business card for what you're trying to sell. Essentially, the cover of the book is your packaging. And there's this saying that don't judge a book by its cover. But while that may be true, and you may have like real substance inside of the book, packaging matters. We live in a highly visual world, and you need to stand out. You need to get people's attention. So it's one of my most fun parts of, helping an author publish, whether it's a journal or it's an informational book. It's a really fun process to go in the bookstore and imagine your bookshelf up on the shelf and how does it stand up against other books. And it's not about also being the loudest, but what do you want people to take away when they pass the shelf, and how do you want them to feel? What do you want them to take away from it? Like, first off, it's like, oh, this is pretty, this draws me in, but how do you really want them to feel? Those are things that are really important to consider.
Yes, yes. Thank you for giving us that breakdown of how you thought about designing the book and how you approach the project. I think also being that this book is self-published, I wanted it to still have the quality of a book that is, published with a major publisher, because a lot of times people have that assumption that it's self-published, so it's gonna look, you know,
Handmade.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
And
look like
you don't
Etsy.
want it to look handmade. You want it to look professional.
Yeah, professional and re-professionally. So that was really my inspiration to finding both of you. Is I wanted the book to have that high quality and to come across to the reader like this could have been a book that is published in Barnes and Nobles or whatever, like whatever is their Target or Walmart, wherever people buy books from. It needed to be able to stand on those kind of shelves, and so that's another reason why I came to bring all of us together. And I do want to say, looking at this screen, that having a black woman, female team to bring this book to life was also very important to me. I felt that that would best capture the vision, that would best represent what I was trying to say, the look and feel. Um, and bring my story across, because at the end of the day it is about my experiences being a professional, mentoring people, coaching people, through the job search and interview process, as well as things that other people have mentored and disposed on me too. So I needed somebody that I feel like I could trust with that, with my baby, as Melissa said.
Yeah.
And this is the team that I felt could best do that after I interviewed a few people and talked with other people. So um, I know Melissa, you have to go in a few minutes, but I wanted to get you all's opinion on what makes, as creatives, in your interviewing somebody else who's the creative, who you want to work with, like what makes them stand out in 2025 now. I was going to say 2024. In 2025, what makes somebody good at interviewing? Like what makes them stand out from maybe a couple of experiences that you've had recently?
Well, I can start. I will say, while now I'm completely freelance, my last full-time employment was in finance tech. And I was a technical documentation writer. Um, and while that's my degree in professional writing, um, what I took away from my interview was that my VP, who I interviewed with, was more interested in my in the writing I had done that was not based on my job. And so I think that sometimes when you have something new to bring to it that exists outside of the job description, it is the thing, like you mentioned in the book, that really sets you apart. So while I was working in finance tech, I didn't have a background in finance tech. I did have experience as a writer. Um, and she understood that that would be exactly what was needed to bring new life into the role. And so I appreciated her ability to see beyond the job description, see beyond my resume, and see me as a writer and what I could bring to the role. And I think that just as creatives, when you are approaching a given topic, you do want, like we've all mentioned, what's the thing that's going to set you apart? What's the thing that's going to make sure that you leave a lasting impression long after that interview is wrapped up?
That's a great tip, and that is talked about in the book, and that's part of the personal branding and career storytelling chapter. And I think that was an amazing example. One, because you didn't come from finance tech, you didn't come from tech, period, but you were able to make that transition just based on having a holistic uh, portfolio, having a portfolio that has more than just what they're asking for in the job description, and you're able to bring together those skills, tell a story about it, and then present it to the person who is interviewing you. And I feel like that's what great interviewing is all about. It's all about the personal branding and the storytelling, and how you make the person that's interviewing you see you doing the job, and then see you as the best fit for that job. So I 100% agree with that.
And I will say that one of the things you mentioned is having the foresight of what a company is looking for, right? Do your research. And I think it was for a legacy Canadian financer that wanted something new. They wanted to step away from being, like we're moving away from brick and mortar to more e-com. So that was also something that I was able to leverage, right? You're looking for something new and fresh. It's probably going to mean having people who have more of a creative writing background than someone based in, tech or finance tech for to be specific. And so it was also understanding where the company wanted to go and how you could best fit that role.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it better. I also want to hone in on the point of skill stacking. This is something that I talk about in the book. This is something I talk about on LinkedIn all the time. But being like taking each skill that you're learning from wherever, whether you're freelance, whether you're entrepreneur, whether you're in corporate, because as the ladies have mentioned, this is not just for somebody in corporate or somebody in a student or a recent graduate. This is for anyone presenting themselves and selling themselves professionally. So it's about taking the skills that you're gaining and then leveraging them, and then
Yeah.
figuring out how you can stack them together to then present yourself as the best option. And so I love how you said that. You took from ecom, you took from creative writing, you took from technical documentation. You presented it as, look, I'm a all around communicator, and I have spent my career communicating in different mediums in different industries, and that, as you said, is probably what stood out and said, like, this person is fresh. This person is going to give us a new perspective on this particular job, and we don't have anybody else that's doing that. So
Yeah.
definitely that's probably what sold that person for you getting that job. So it is a main character interview. You get the main character interview trophy. So let's go on, and I want to say your name right because I feel like I've been saying Cassia and it's wrong. How do I pronounce it properly?
You've been saying it right. It's Cassie.
Cassie, Cassie.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been saying it right.
Yeah, you've been
My,
saying it right.
oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I was saying it wrong, but and mine is Geneva, pronounced Geneva.
Right. I think I've been messing it up. Yeah. It's
I've been
Janaba.
I thought I was messing it up, but we
No.
have that out the window. So
Yeah.
now let's talk about you. Oh, I have one comment in the chat. Uh Sheeta, she's looking forward to having this book prepare her for her interviews and her upcoming job search. So I'm happy that it's doing that for you. And then she also is one of my pre-order customers, so she is getting a signed book.
Oh, sweet.
I'm happy to be sending those out this week. So if you're in the chat, let's I want you to put some emojis in. I want you to let us know, how is this helping you? Is this helping you on your way to having a gold medal interview, a main character interview? I'm going to get into what main character is. I talk about it in the book. But it is basically being the main character of your own career story. If it's doing that for you, if it's giving that to you, to you, let me get my water. I want you to let us know in the chat. And then also, if you could leave a comment on thank you, Kenneth, 100. If you can leave us a comment while we go on to Cassia telling us about her interview experience, leave us a comment on what are you most excited to read about in this book. So, Cassia, let's talk about a standout interview that you have had, that you have delivered, or somebody making an impression on you in their interview.
Okay. So when I think about interviews that I was the interviewee, it's kind of similar to when someone stands out to me when I'm interviewing them, and that is someone who is passionate. As creatives, you really aren't going to stick with this for very long if you're just in it for money or any other superficial reason. So you can always tell when somebody wants it really badly. So when I just got into design, it was because I expressed an interest in learning graphic design. So that's how I first got started. Before I even went to do the degree program, I had at least a year's worth of experience under my belt. And I just expressed an interest. Then, even my latest opportunity, where I'm a senior designer now at Writer's Block, a celebrity ghostwriting agency, I just let people know that, hey, I'm available for X, or if you ever need a designer, I'll be interested. So every step of the way, it's about raising your hand. And then when you raise your hand and someone's considering you, show up for yourself. Let them know what you're interested in. Let them know your story. Story meaning like, this is my experience, this is where I'm at now, and this is where I want to go. And really seeing, do you align here? I think when you come from a place of authenticity, that will always win hands down instead of trying to be something else. Even if you're trying to be this elevated person of yourself, you let them know, like, hey, I'm looking to grow in this department. So taking it to the topic of mid-career professional who's looking to pivot. For me, I can pivot to project management because as someone who has managed multiple projects and other creatives, I can pivot to a role in another advertising agency or other creative agency as a project manager because I'm familiar with the skills that are required. So I think that also translates to what you talk about, which is the skill stacking. So, what really stands out for me is that authenticity and leading with a genuine heart and drive.
Thank you.
Drive, passion, and portfolio. That's key.
Ooh, I love that combination. It's similar to the main character interview, which is the clarity, competence, and confidence. And so you kind of summed it up saying that differently, but it's the same principle. And in raising your hand, I love what you said, like being the person to raise your hand, but then after you raise your hand, you have to deliver.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the execution piece is missing. Like people want to pivot or you want to raise your hand to try something new, but then you're not delivering the deliverables
You're
that
not delivering or you don't have anything relevant to back that up.
yeah, yeah. And for me, I call that receipts. Is having having career receipts to even show after you've raised your hand. And I could even turn that into a story about writing this book. If I didn't write those articles, like raise my hand to write articles on other people's blogs, on other people's LinkedIn's, um, talking about career development, talking about interviewing specifically, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence to write this book. But because I've already written several times online, got good feedback, people reposting, people saying that this is pivotal information for their career, then I'm like, okay, well, this is a green light for me to be able to write this book. I have all of the things that I mentioned. I have the clarity, I have the competence, I have the confidence now. Let me go ahead and bring this to life. And I think approaching your career that way is the same thing with interviewing. If you don't have examples to share with the person interviewing you, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get the job because they can't relate to what you're saying. They can't see you doing the job. And that's one of the important things about landing after you do an interview is like, can the person interviewing see me delivering on what I'm saying and then doing this job?
Oh, yeah, I definitely see your process as you laid it out there because it took me back to when we had our first call, which in a way it is an interview both ways. So when you asked me for examples, it was easy for me to turn and pull the examples, and I'm super stoked because I know I have the competence, I have the examples, which then naturally will translate to confidence because like I know I could do this.
Yeah, and I didn't have to. No, I didn't have to wonder or say, like, if the person is still wondering, you're not going to get the job. I didn't have to say, well, I wonder if she can do this, or I wonder if, what it's going to look like, or I wonder if she can actually design. No, because you presented it after the call as well, but then during the call, you're able to, like you said, show a receipt, show an example in real life of, this is the work that I've done, this is the quality of the work that I've done. In the chat, let us know one thing you're taking away from this conversation and so far and for your interviewing. Let us know what you're thinking. I cannot see everyone that is here. I know we have Carla. I know we have Tony. I know we have Rashida, Kenneth, um, Monet. Let us know just one takeaway from that you can take into your next interview. So now I want to just go a little bit more. I'm gonna pull up my notes into main character interviewing. My iPad is locking me out, so I need a few minutes to get in. I don't think I put the right password, but we'll give it a minute. So I'm gonna get into main character interviewing, what that is, why I feel like that's an important framework to present to job seekers. Main character interviewing, it kind of is what it sounds like. It's presenting yourself as a main character in your story as the right choice, as the top choice for whatever you're interviewing for. So it is just a framework to keep in mind to remind you you're there at the interview for a reason. You do have a story to tell. Your perspective is valuable. Your skill set is valuable. Your experience is valuable. And that is really the basis for why I created the main character framework and why I included it in the book. I think I'm getting into my iPad. Yes. Um, So, as I said, the main character interview framework is a confidence building, storytelling based framework that I include in the book. And I typically refer to it online as the 4C's framework. And it is one of my main philosophies for job searching, career pivoting, and interview success. And those 4C's are courage, clarity, confidence, and competence. And as we got from Cassia in her example and um, her way of presenting that, I really love that breakdown because it was so similar. You need all 4C's of that framework to really deliver your best interview and tell your story. And once you have, I would say, the courage, the clarity, and the competence, it's going to naturally lead, as she said, to confidence. And you need confidence in any situation of presenting yourself. I always give an example, especially when I'm teaching or coaching on salary negotiation. If you cannot ask for fresh coffee, if you cannot ask for hot fries at the drive through, if you cannot ask the nail tech to fix your nails once they are finished and you don't like it. If you're getting your haircut, getting the shape up. If you can't tell your barber that this cut is not the way you wanted it, 9 times out of 10, you do not have the confidence to say, uh, this is not the right salary for me. This is too low. This is not the right job for me. You do not have the confidence to then present yourself. If you can't do those things, if you can't ask for hot fries, then 9 times out of 10, you can't ask for what you want in the interview, and then you can't tell the interviewee, I mean the interviewer, why you are the best candidate. And that's really the basis of me creating the 4C framework, is to give people kind of like something that they can say to themselves before an interview to remind themselves that they need those things when presenting themselves. We have a comment from Kenneth. I think this is his takeaway. So he says, portfolio is a big one that Cassie has shared. Companies are consistently asking to see an example of a candidate's work. So always be adding to that portfolio. Yeah, that's something that we didn't touch on. Thank you, Kenneth. But um, a portfolio can get stale very quickly if you're not updating it. So you want to have relevant examples, current examples. You don't want to be presenting, well, I don't want to say that, because if your work is innovative enough, you can use an old example, or relative enough, you can use an old example. But I think the point is to always be adding to the portfolio as you gain more skills, to be able to tell that holistic story, to present to the interviewer like, hey, I can do this job. I can pull from, as Melissa mentioned, my hobby, or I can pull from work that I've done outside this job or job description to share in a portfolio. So I think that is an excellent point, Kenneth. Thank you for giving us that takeaway. Um, Rashida says, I'm most excited about learning how to effectively tell a story that highlights what I want next in my career and the direction I want to take my career in. It's about leveraging all the experiences and skills I've gained to present myself as a subject matter expert in my field. And this is something I love talking about. I talk about it in the book and I talk about it on LinkedIn. But I want to give Melissa a chance because I know she is our literary um, guru and expert. What makes a good story? If you could tell us your opinion on that in this
Yeah.
context.
In this context, especially as someone who's aiming to be a subject matter expert, I think it is telling a story that compels, right? Like you want to be able to express yourself in a way that grabs attention and really allows you to speak with authenticity and authority versus arrogance, where you're able to aptly express like this is what my background is. But I think you also do a really you have prompts in the book as well that give you sentence structures that you can really fill in your skill set with, that helps you build out a very creative way of expressing your skill set. um, I think that it's like you mentioned, that idea of clarity. I think when you're very clear on what you've done, you're very clear on who your audience is, it allows you to just put the pieces together very seamlessly. Um, I think that, especially in the age of AI, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, which is usually AI language. It's just something that really speaks to you and what your end goal is. So I think that once you have structure, and it really follows a flow that makes sense in what you're speaking about, um, telling an authentic story is really just about the ideas that you're presenting, the order and flow in which you're presenting it in, and making sure it lands with the person that you're presenting it to.
That's great. I heard authenticity and authority. I heard infusing your personal brand into the story, which we go over in the book. I was flipping to page 7 because as you reminded us, I think the static is coming back. I don't know why. As you reminded me, in the book, that's chapter 7. It's called "Sell Your Highlight Reel." And in the book, in that chapter, we go through personal branding, storytelling, creating a compelling bio. There's prompts in this chapter. As Melissa mentioned, there's a template for how you do this and how you come out with this bio about yourself and some tips on how to do this storytelling. So once you get the book, you go to chapter 7, and there's prompts in there. There's also a section for celebrating your wins without feeling like you're bragging. So being able to talk about yourself without, I know a lot of people struggle with this. I know a lot of black women, especially because I've heard this on LinkedIn. I've also heard this, all over the place. Essence Magazine, in real life. It's a topic that's always covered. Instagram, YouTube, all the places. Um, how do you talk about yourself without feeling like you're bragging? How do you talk about yourself without um, authentically and with authority, as Melissa said, without feeling weird about it, especially when you're first getting into doing that, you're first building the habit of doing that, or you're new to doing that. And so I'm glad that I flipped to this chapter and I mentioned that because a lot of people do feel that way. They feel strange. They feel like they may have to dim their light. They feel like it feels uncomfortable for them in presenting themselves. And this it comes across as a lack of confidence a lot of times when you do have that mindset or you're afraid to approach it in a way that's, I am the authority on this. I am the subject matter expert on this. I am the thought leader on this. And so I'm wondering, Melissa and Cassia, I know You all present yourself all the time. As I know from experience, you present yourself with confidence as a main character because I had to interview you to come onto this project. So, would you mind giving us maybe some tips for both the woman and the male or whomever is feeling this way, feeling uncomfortable with presenting themselves? How do you kind of first get past the uncomfortableness of it or get past the awkwardness of it if you feel like it's bragging, and then maybe a tip on how to carry it out? You still on mute.
So for me, it depends on the situation and platform slash situation, right? So for example, on LinkedIn, I don't know why. I know we're here on LinkedIn right now, but for some reason, LinkedIn just sometimes feels really plastic and inauthentic. It's just the way things are phrased. I mean, we see the jokes and the memes. We see them talk about, it's an honor. Like, how many times are we going to say it's an honor to, that it starts to sound tired? And I think that's where some of the um, hesitation to show up on LinkedIn, because it does feel
Mm-hmm.
like uh, a echo chamber of everyone, constantly pumping themselves up. Though I understand it's required because, hey, this is where we have to kind of sell ourselves. So sometimes I really just have to quiet my mind, forget what's happening on the platform, and try to think of myself to be a breath of fresh air when I do show up. Not because this is what's happening on, whether it's LinkedIn or whatever setting it is. You have to quiet your mind, forget what's going on, and just focus on why you are here. Focus on who you are here to serve. So whether it's that job you're going for, you're here to be of service as an employee for this particular job. And you have to remind yourself that if I don't show up and be that light, um, then they won't see you, right? Another
Mm-hmm.
way I like to think of it is, how easy is it for us to advocate for ourselves when we get passed over for an opportunity? We're like, oh, I should have gotten that. Oh, I deserve to do this. I'm more qualified. So why not tap into that mindset before you get passed up for this opportunity and tell yourself, because I always feel nervous. So sometimes I have to hack my brain, which is, well, if not you, who?
Yeah.
And that usually helps. Like, well, if someone else got it, wouldn't you be upset? So then you'd start to find all the reasons why I deserve this, why I deserve this. And that usually helps.
Yes, main character. Those are some gems. Those are main character gems. I love it. We're getting emojis in the or in claps in the chat. Um, I love what you said. If not me, who? That is a main character bar. If I couldn't have said it better myself, I think. Um, I hear that a lot about LinkedIn. Actually, like people feel intimidated because LinkedIn it was the career app, or one of my friends calls it the briefcase app. Like it was that place for a long time where, this is only the experts. This is only the people who run a company. This is only the hiring managers at companies. And I think whether I love that advice, whether it's LinkedIn or any platform, which is like, I'm here to tell my story, perspective, and share my thoughts and ideas. And if I don't share it, then I don't help anybody or I'm not in service to anybody. And I know here we're on MLK Day, which is about service and which is about legacy, and we're celebrating Dr. King's birthday, but I could that's just a beautiful segue into that. And it's like, if you're not showing up to do that, then you kind of don't serve yourself, or you're not serving anybody with the gifts that you have and the perspective and the ideas. So thank you. That was a beautiful share. Um, and very valuable information. So, London Thompson is saying in the chat, it's unfortunate, but most people have never actually had the opportunity to tell their story or see themselves as a main character. And I think that's why I think having that practice of doing it in an interview setting is so important, because then it helps you train your brain. As Cassie was saying, there's certain training that goes into preparing for an interview, like mentally, or preparing to present yourself in the best light, that does something for you mentally, and building that confidence and building that practice of telling your story or sharing your thoughts and ideas. And I think once you get used to that, and once you see yourself doing that, it's then becomes easier to do that on a social media platform, or a blog, or on your website, or wherever, or in your portfolio, because you've been kind of practicing that storytelling and practicing presenting yourself. Melissa, do you have anything for us on this topic?
Yeah, I know one of the things you mentioned is about, like you said, the portfolio, but also holding on to that highlight reel. I think one of the things that we often overlook is just because it's easy for us doesn't mean it's easy for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's your power, right? I think that especially as Black women, we're always nurturing, we're always problem solving, which makes us really great subject matter experts, but it doesn't mean that it's a skill that comes naturally to everyone. And so I think sometimes having that highlight reel that allows you to see your work in action is the thing that helps you remind yourself and build that confidence that this is something that I do and it's something that I do well. And it could be repetition, it could be repetitive, and it's something that you have to often put that effort into. But you also mentioned mock interviews. I know that I often prepare for interviews with friends, but I also don't mind asking the stupid question to those that I deem in an authority position, right? Like, I want to get better, I want to learn, and not feeling intimidated by the prospects of learning or getting something wrong. You know, if you do want to build or grow in any given area, it is going to come with, it's a learning curve. You're going to have your highs and your lows, but how committed am I to building that confidence through amassing as much knowledge as possible?
I 100% agree. The preparation part and the practice part, you know, building confidence is a skill set, as you mentioned. Interviewing is a skill, as we've mentioned here in this platform. So the only way to get better at it is just like anything else, sports or cooking or whatever, is practice. And so, that's another reason I'm so happy to have brought this book to life, is giving people that tool set to be able to practice. As you mentioned, I think it's chapter, I think it's 4. Um, I do give a lot of AI tools so that you can do things, as Melissa mentioned, for practicing the mock interviews, or um, using it to refine your resume. I have a few different tools that I mentioned there for practice, but I started off practicing the same way. I actually practice with myself in the mirror. Then I graduate to practice with my husband, but then sometimes he wouldn't be there or whatever. So then you go back to practicing with yourself. But now there's so many tools that not only allow you to practice, but to get feedback from professional coaches, from hiring managers. There's so much technology now where you can't not practice. Like, if you want to develop that skill, you can do it. And so, thank you so much. I know we're coming on 3 minutes, but I wanted to thank you both ladies again for helping me to realize this dream, bring my baby to life. Now, we're making history because this is available forever. And it's online. We're building digital legacy, and I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of the work that we did, and I am just looking forward to getting it into more hands across the world.
Yes, I can't wait for my copy to land in Canada. I'm excited. I'm really proud of the work that you put into it. And like you said, you're building out your legacy, and this is just the first book of many.
Yes, I'll be in contact because you know that another book is coming. The workbook is coming probably next year, so I will have another session like this again. I'll of course be reaching out. I don't know, Cassie, were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say thank you for having me. Thank you for um, having me be part of your process and helping you bring this baby to life and build this legacy piece. I also want to say I am also excited to get a physical copy of the book in my hand. I'm so excited to read and dive deep into it in physical format. Of course, I have the digital, but I just can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much. I will be posting the link. London, he wants the link, but then he found it, so I'm gonna post where you can find it, where you can work with me. I have a free chat group on GroupMe that I will drop the link to. I support job seekers and people on their interviews in this free GroupMe chat, so you can get into that. That's how you can work with me for free. You can buy the book on thebloomology.com/books. Where else? I also have a main character interview pledge that is going to be coming soon. Cassie, I probably need your help with this, but this is the main character interview pledge that you can put in your office, like I have, in a beautiful frame, and you can say that to yourself or out loud as an affirmation before your next interview where you have to present yourself. And the private podcast that supports Interview Like an Olympian is coming out soon as well. So we also have that community. And that's it. So thank you, my audience, for coming to celebrate with me. I'm put something in the chat to let me know how this went for you. And I will see you online on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.